All right. Welcome back to, I know we look a little different, but just stick with us, okay? Welcome back to the Marches Podcast, where we talk about books, the ones that leave a mark, start a conversation, and stay with you long after the last page. With that said, should we just get right into it?
Let's jump into it.
All right. Today's guest writes urban fantasy with Noir spine, where necromancers, gods, ghosts, and all the dead all exist inside Los Angeles that feels haunted in more ways than one. He's author of the best-selling Eric Carter series, beginning with Dead Things, and a writer who works and blends crime, horror, mythology, and dark humor in a way that has earned a loyal following over the years. Today we're talking about Dead Things, about building a long-running series, about flawed protagonists, and about how to keep fantasy strange without letting it spiral out of control. Guys, please help me welcome Stephen Blackmoore. Hey, Stephen, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Glad,
of course.
happy to be here.
Yeah, long time in the making. Cristiano was the one who originally came across your work, adding it to our TBR at all times. But he was like, "Hey, you got to read this." And almost instantly after we got done turning those pages, we we're like, "We got to get this guy on." So I know that Cristiano was the one to do the reach out. Cristiano, how did you originally come across Stephen's work?
So I was, we were looking at doing different things, just preparing for this upcoming year. And one of the things that we really wanted to do was to speak to as many local authors as we could. So did some research on my end. I made like a short list of authors that would be cool, that were local, local based, that we can reach out to, look at their books. Obviously we read yours. And we're like, okay, this will probably work. Especially because a lot of we cover a lot of different kinds of books, to be honest. But we do, at least for me, and especially, I love like this sci-fi, fantasy, like that little mid area. Also horror. We dip into horror a bit, and it's just yours had like a little bit of all the things that we like. So we're like, let's check it out. Let's check him out, see if he's down to hop on the pod. And then, yeah, it just worked out.
Well, thank you for having me, and I hope the books did not suck.
Oh no! I did want to preface it because I'm unlike Cristiano. Our listeners know for fact that he doesn't mind spoilers.
Yes.
Whereas they wreck me. We have only read Dead Things so far, and that's what we wanted to introduce our listeners to the complete series as we go about it ourselves.
So I shouldn't talk about the space aliens and the
So you could spoil things for me. For him, not so much.
Don't tell me about the dinosaurs. Yeah.
So each episode, we try to go through like one book. I don't think we've ever gone through more than one book at a time. Even there's a lot of series that we cover, and it's just one book at a time, just to make it edible. Especially because a lot of what our discussions are on the pod are breaking down more than just what's happening in the book. It's more so about like the craft, the characters, the plot, the world building, like that sort of thing. How it ties into everyday life.
Then I will avoid spoilers, because it does get a little unhinged as the series goes on.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's what I'm looking forward to. Funny enough, the reason we got to the point where we only cover one book at a time is because in our lost tapes, as we reference often, we had quite a few episodes that we recorded when we started this podcast that will never see the light of day. And that is because we learned from the mistakes we made, whether it was technology-wise, which obviously we're still learning, or audio, or specific sound bites that we use. We attempted to do this with, I believe it was either the Red Rising series, it could have been Wheel of Time or Name of the Wind, but we would just say, oh, wait, no, that's in book 2. was that in book 3 or was that book 1? And then then we're like, okay, well, we got to stop. We got to cut it here. And we got to go back. So
Yeah,
that is why we
stop
have.
halfway through. Let me go back and reread that.
Yeah, let me double check, and then we just get mad at the audience for not being where we're at on the read anyway. So anyway, we don't want to be mad at them. They're great. They're great supporters. So Stephen, currently, we wanted to hear a little bit about what you enjoy reading yourselves. We obviously are going to get into what you enjoy writing, and what we enjoy reading of your writing. But what can we find you reading nowadays?
Wow. I read a lot of urban fantasy. I read a lot of noir. Uh, Weirdly, I don't like reading noir as much as I like writing it
Mm-hmm.
because it tends to be just noir writers are not known for pulling punches. And there are times where I'm just like, I got to put that fucking book down. I can't keep going. I'm sorry. Um, but I do read a lot of urban fantasy and a lot of crime fiction. Um, I don't tend to. I lately I've been reading more thrillers,
Mhm.
mostly to try to get a better idea of how to write them. I've got friends who are just fantastic thriller writers, and I've really had a hard time myself kind of figuring out how to kind of work within the genre. Um, and almost inevitably I end up bringing crime or urban fantasy elements into it when I'm writing it. So I'm trying to learn how to either not do that or how to better incorporate it so that it doesn't just go off the rails. So and give you an example of that. I like writing Los Angeles a lot. I mean,
Mhm.
and it shows up in a lot of the stuff I do. And so some of the stuff I'm working on more recently does not take place in LA. But the people who do tend to write about LA are people like Michael Connolly. And police
Mhm.
procedurals have a particular uh, vibe to them and how they are built and what they're talking how they approach things. Same with thrillers where the certain kinds of details, like I really don't care about a how a DNA test is run, which is something that you might devote like 3 pages to in a police procedural, or
Yeah.
the
Right.
kind of shotguns that are being used and equipment and certain types of plot points in a thriller that soldiers are it's like, okay, I really don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't interest me. um so if I write a thriller, those are the conventions, and those are things that I kind of need to come to terms with, like
Right.
Mhm.
who I am as a writer versus what the genre convention allows. And allows is the wrong expects, I think, is a better
Mm.
way of putting it. Um, so I'm reading a lot more of those sorts of things that I'm not used to writing to get a better idea of how other writers approach those. And there's some people who mix all the genres together really well, and it still
Mhm.
works and appeals to me. There's an author, Peter Klein's, who's a friend of mine. He lived in LA for a long time. He's in San Diego now, but he does shit that's just off in like some weird direction, and it works.
Mm.
Zombie superheroes,
Mhm.
Lovecraftian spy thrillers, things like that, and they work really well. And I recommend him to anybody. But I was talking to him recently about uh, realizing that there's some things that he does really well that I do really shitty, and and it's really actually helped a lot to kind of go and take a look at that and break that down. Um,
Oh,
and he just kind of looked at me with a, "The fuck are you talking about?" Which I think we all do as writers. Like, "Oh yeah, you do this thing great." It's like, really? Well, okay,
Mhm.
but I do find it helpful to read things kind of outside of what I'm used to, and that's kind of what I'm doing now, which is a long-winded answer, I think, and may have gone
No,
off in different directions.
no, honestly, everything I wanted to cover, you nailed without me even having to get there. So I appreciate it. You didn't need less work for me. Cristiano, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, in terms of because you like to write noir, right? And want to get into thrillers, but do you have like any early influences? Like, why start there? For example, is there something that when you're
Um,
younger, or it's like,
Weirdly, I grew up with nothing but science fiction and fantasy. I my dad was constantly reading sci-fi fantasy. I just kind of would grab a book that he would have lying, because he have like half a dozen books lying open on the around the house, and just walk by. Oh look, I'll start reading that. Um, and and fortunately, I didn't have any restrictions on what I was reading, because there was some shit that would be very inappropriate. That's like, oh yeah, I was like, what does this mean? It's like, wow, I wish I really had not left that book there. Um, but grew up gaming, D&D,
Hmm.
uh you know Call of Cthulhu, getting involved with just like Lovecraftian, uh all the Lovecraft, Derleth, Howard, all that. Could not get into Lord of the Rings.
mm,
um I got halfway through Fellowship, and it's like I couldn't. And to this day, there's a lot of really heavy high fantasy that I can't get into. It just doesn't click for me. It's not like, oh, this is bad. It's like, it's just not
It's just not for
really for
you. Yeah.
me.
yeah,
It's just not working for me. Like,
Hmm.
I haven't been able to get into Game of Thrones.
mm,
That was gonna be my example for me. I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah, I
I
just like, this
enjoyed
is,
the show, but the reading of it and everything was like, oh,
yeah,
unless I'm seeing that, I'm not. And I do love high fantasy, but it just depends on which one,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So
And I remember I had a, well, before I go off into some bizarre tangent, yeah, that's what I grew up with. Science fiction, fantasy.
alrighty, alrighty. Christiana, did you have any other questions before we get into the book? Well, specifically the writing process first.
no, you kind of touched on my other question, which was like, well, no, I guess I can say something. It's a little bit more casual.
Okay.
You have any favorite LA spots?
Ooh,
Wow.
that's a
Um,
Well, because
I grew
it's
up in
LA
the
is
South
basically a
Bay.
character in this book, So I,
It is. It is.
absolutely,
And
yeah.
and I grew up in the South Bay. Uh and so all of my favorite areas are like West Side kind of, and inevitably it comes down to food.
Oh yeah.
So for me, it's Tito's Tacos and Johnny's Pastrami on Washington.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't live anywhere near either of those places anymore, so I really miss them. But yeah, but just sort of in general, I like those places in LA that people just don't know about.
Right.
They just, like hidden spots in Griffith Park, like Travel Town, or you know, uh just like different areas along the river where it's like further north where it stops being the cement that they put in after the floods,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
where you're like, oh wow, it's they're actual plants here. Who knew? You know, shit like that. I mean, just the more obscure, the more I like it.
Yeah. All right. All right. Just wondering. Just wondering about if you had any Tito's Tacos. Great. Great shout out to them. Awesome. I love that place too.
Yeah, Cristiano is an LA native. I am a transplant from. I grew up in San Diego and about an hour north, like near the Temecula area, and have moved around quite a
Hmm.
bit since. But LA is home now. So yeah, we frequent all the good. When you were talking about Griffith Park, we're gonna get into the book at some point, but yeah, it's parts of the Griffith Park that you mentioned, and go down Pico, everything. I was like, oh, I'm here. I'm here. I know these places. I loved it. Um, alrighty. So let's get a little micro synopsis on Dead Things. Dead Things follows Eric Carter, a necromancer who left Los Angeles years ago and swore he wouldn't come back. When his sister is murdered, he returns to the city full of ghosts and grudges and unfinished business. As he investigates her death, Eric is forced to confront not just gods and the dead, but the damage he left behind and the man he's become. It's noir and supernatural skin, a murder mystery where real reckoning isn't just the killer, but with yourself. With the writing process, when readers close Dead Things for the first time, Stephen, what do you hope stays with them? Like a feeling, a question, a discomfort, um, any specific type of emotion? Was there? Do you have any inkling or desire, a specific desire?
I hope that they close the page with, wow, I gotta buy the next one.
Yes.
Um, um, I did not have that. I didn't have something in mind with Dead Things. There are, and again, no spoilers, but
Yeah.
further in the series, there are some where I close going, I really want them to like put this down going, wow, I really need to question my life choices. Um
I love that.
uh and kind of looking at Dead Things and just sort of themes in general, that kind of actually is sort of what I want people to leave the book with is how to put it. Actually, a friend of mine put it really well. No matter how bad a day you've had, Eric Carter's will be worse. So, and part of that is not in the, hey, I want you to feel good about yourself. See, you're not this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at the same time, that's kind of what noir is. You know, no matter, even if you win, you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's a big part of Eric's sort of general life circumstance. He makes things worse whether he wants to or not. uh his choices um tend to have unforeseen consequences. And so I hope that it readers don't walk away thinking that, wow, this is so bleak, I can't go and look at another one of this. But at the same time, I want to go, yeah, this was bleak but a fun ride.
Right. Right.
um and there's a balance there, and sometimes I think I hit it and sometimes I think I don't.
I think that's actually going into one of my questions was so like, how do you know when like one of your ideas is strengthening the story versus when it's just expanding the sandbox, if that makes sense.
That's tough. I i have this so that kind of goes into a world building question for me when I'm writing, because it's not just how much is too much and how, and do I have to back away, but also how much information do I seed and when and how.
Mm,
Um because talking about, it's urban fantasy, so I'm talking about magic. It's got a very loose magic system. How do Eric's a necromancer, he sees ghosts. How does that work?
mhm,
How do I tell the reader that works? How much detail do I go into it, and how much of that slows or speeds up the story?
right.
Because
Mm-hmm.
the Carter books, I wanted to have a very fast pace. I wanted to have that you know um move so fast you don't really notice how fast it's going.
Right.
Um and so that was a challenge for me, and what I find myself doing is I'll write something and I'll go through it again and go, okay, I can't put that here, or I need to shrink it down, or this is a like 3 paragraphs, how can I shrink that down into a single sentence?
Mm,
um because the longer the writing is, the more it can slow things down. And some of that is also visually, where it's not just how much, like if I have a big wall of text,
yeah.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to lose a reader.
Gotcha.
Because of the type of book that it is. If I've got a few short paragraphs, that's a very different pace visually than if I've got just this big, you know, massive paragraph or a wall of text that it just kind of people will glaze over it. They'll lose interest and they'll miss details.
Mhm,
So there's a visual element to it as well, to that. And that goes also with everything else within, like if I'm talking about history in LA, um I have to do the same thing, because most people have an idea of what LA is, but that's not necessarily correct. And I want to make sure that I'm being true to the place, while at the same time not beating somebody over the head with, oh, by the way, you're wrong. This is not how this works in LA, is not this thing that you think it is.
right.
Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever you happen to be living in Florida and has
Mm-hmm.
never been there. And so it kind of goes throughout the whole process of how much is too much and where does it go when, on the page when I'm writing.
Got you. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
so when you're writing, are you, how do I put this? Like, are you thinking about contextually what the reader is getting? Like, are you more interested in like them just picking up? I guess, as you said, like the pacing of it, like how quick things are happening, following along with that. Because earlier you guys said something about condensing. For example, obviously I'm just using it as an example, but condensing. If you have 3 paragraphs worth of text, you want to condense it to like 1 or 2 sentences, right? So are you leaning
Hmm.
on context more so when you're writing?
um I try to.
Yeah.
um so one thing that I really try to avoid is talking down to a reader.
Hmm.
um I don't want to dumb anything down, but at the same time I need to make sure that they're getting the information that they need. So I try to seed things early enough so that I can call back to them if necessary. Like, God, I can't even think of an example where I do that, but um like if you're laying down clues for a mystery,
Mhm.
you want to make sure that they are visible enough so that the reader doesn't go back and go, wait a minute, you never said anything about that. That just
Oof.
showed up out of
Yeah.
nowhere, you know?
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want to draw the attention so much that they get partway through and go, oh, yeah, the killer's so and so, and this is what's going on, and that's what's happening, you know? So it makes throwing curveballs a little more challenging because I want to make sure that if you go back, and I know I'm not always successful at this, but I want to make sure that if you go back, um, you can read it again and go, oh, of course this happened this way because it couldn't happen any other way. Um, and that's something that I find a challenge. And sometimes I can pull it off and sometimes I can't, and most times I can't tell if I actually did or not. And honestly, I don't think anybody can. I think it's up to the reader. Did they catch it? Did they not? You know, if I did my
Mhm.
job, then it worked, and if I did and they just didn't notice, well, you know, them's the breaks.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know Ryan Coogler was recently on a podcast. It was Carmelo Anthony's podcast, and he was being asked about Sinners, about his film, and the question was if he thinks that that's the best film he's made so far, and he basically started breaking down saying, when I can't remember how old, I think he was 22 when he did Fruitvale, or maybe he was 20. I can't remember how young he was, but he said, when I did Fruitvale Station, that was the best movie I could do at that time. When I then did Black Panther, that was the best movie I could do at that time. And that's just like, he's like, that's how I am with all my projects. And really, I have, whether I'm filming for, doing an indie for 7 weeks or doing large scale for 2 years, it's mine during that time, and then it's the audience. Then it's yours to like pick apart, yours to say whatever,
Mhm.
how it touched you and everything. And that's really, while you were saying that, that was just so reminiscent of like, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't, but really, it's going to be up to the audience to give
Yeah,
that final check.
it really stops being mine the second that it goes out the door.
Hmm. That's honestly, I didn't even mean for it to segue into that. And I know calling out a segue is always the best way to do it. But I found that when we started looking into your book, specifically Goodreads, I've seen TikToks, Instagram Reels. It has a great loyal following. The Eric Carter series. People for for all the right reasons and why I too understand love this book. Um, it's one of those things where I know, like, it sounds like a cliche question, but and I'll ask it anyway. But how much of that played into like when you're writing a book? How much of that is like even obviously it's a desire because you want people to buy your book, but I don't think one can assume it's going to be or do X, Y, and Z to make sure it is. Um, I guess what I'm saying is, was writing a long running relationship between like the reader and the character something you were conscious of, or did it like evolve while you continued the series?
Um, huh. For Dead Things, it was something that I was conscious of, but in a really condensed form. I did not. Okay, so here's how some of this some of this kind of played out. My first book was a book called City of the Lost,
Yeah.
and which was I'll just say it. It's an atrocious book. It's horrible, but it was a precursor to Dead Things, because when I wrote that, I had a particular idea in mind, and it kind of bounced around to different publishers to it was getting no traction, and eventually one publisher said, "Oh yeah, let's do this, but we'd like to do it as a series." And it's like, okay, well, I don't really want to write this character, because who who the protagonist is in City of the Lost is very flat to me.
Mm,
And I thought I could do better, and I had this idea of, um, okay, what if, however, instead of doing it, like a series with this character, I do a series um, in the world. So this next one's going to be this necromancer named Eric Carter, and then I had another idea of another character. Actually, book three was supposed to be. I don't think she shows up in Dead Things. A particular character who shows up
mhm,
later in the series, and I turned in Dead Things, and the publisher said, "Really like it. Can we nix the whole bouncing around different characters and just do this guy? Just do a series with him." Like, sure, I'm happy to. You want books? I'll write them.
I'm ready.
Um,
Yeah.
you got cash money? I am on board.
Yeah.
And so uh so Dead Things was not intended to keep moving forward. Um, so I was in a bit of a jam at that point, like, okay, well shit, now what do I do?
Mhm,
Um, so I ended up mapping out like the next couple of books, because I didn't map out like because there are nine total in the Eric Carter series, and
mhm,
I didn't map all those out. I had some vague ideas of things that I wanted to do, and so I mapped out a couple. And then I had some ideas of what I wanted to do, and a couple after that, and so on. But it was really more like driving down a dark road in the middle of, at the middle of the night, where all you can see are the lines going by. It's like, oh, I see that one. I see that one. I have no idea what's further in the distance because I can't see it.
mhm,
Um, but as I got a few books in, and how I had set things up, starting in Dead Things, um, I found that there were things that I could go back to that I had set up without realizing I was setting them up, because I hadn't intended to. Um, and so I was at that point, yeah, I was conscious of like a longer term, um, interaction between the series and readers, but
mhm.
that hadn't been the original intention, because with Dead Things, that was it. It was going to be one and done. Um, but people seem to respond really well to that character, which thankfully, because I got nine books out of them.
Yeah. I guess when the publisher said, "Hey, can we stick with just this guy?" I'm guessing at that point that things changed a bit, right? Were we just follow him, or was Dead Things as is, and then they just
Dead
said,
Things was
"We're gonna
was as is. I
really?"
turned it
Oh,
in,
okay. So,
and because I did City of the Lost, and then
uh-huh.
Dead Things, and then that's when they said, "Hey, can we just do this
Continue with this
and
guy.
just continue with
Gotcha.
this guy?" So, because one of the things, and I'm glad that I wrote it this way. Um, there's nothing. in Dead Things that connects to City of the Lost, other than the fact that they both take place in Los Angeles. They're both in the set in the same world. Um,
Hmm.
but it isn't until the next book, Broken Souls, where some of the characters from City of the Lost start to show up. Uh, and that was, and those are characters that I really liked. And so I wanted to hang on to them. And that just kind of grew from there. Um, so, I know some authors who, they've mapped out this 20 book series and they've figured all this stuff out before the event. It's like I had no fucking idea I was what I was gonna do with that. Just like they said, "Hey, we want to do this." Like, okay. Well, shit. Let me get back to you on that. Um, but I guess it worked.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
For and in the series, Eric Carter series, and so obviously specifically Dead Things is where the book we're kind of discussing today. There is a mixture of things happening, right? He obviously it happens in LA, but then you have like this, I don't know if it's like Aztec mythology, you have
mhm.
like Cajun culture, which one of the characters is Cajun, hilarious. Um, did you do any research? Like, what went into like because it really made the book feel unique, right? So, kind of like how did you come to these creative choices?
Well, the stuff with the Aztec, um, I hope this isn't a spoiler. I don't think so because it's pretty early on in the book. The main
I'm fine. I'm fine
antagonist,
with a little bit of spoilers.
yeah,
Of course,
the
of
main
course, yes.
antagonist, is Santa Muerte.
Hmm.
And for people who don't know, Santa Muerte, Saint Death, is a synchronization of uh, sort of between a Grim Reaper figure that came over with the Spanish and the indigenous cultures of Central and South America, um, of Mictexuatl,
Mm.
and who's um, that's Aztec, and she is the queen of Mictlan, and Mictlan Tecuhtli, who's the king of Mictlan. Um, and that's what Santa Muerte is. And a lot of people have heard of Santa Muerte in terms of narco culture. They probably first ran into it in watching Breaking Bad and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, and as I dug into that, one, LA is outside of Mexico, LA is has more adherence to Santa Muerte as a religion than anywhere else. You can go to pretty much any botanica and you're going to find some kind of Santa Muerte paraphernalia,
Hmm.
candles and so on. And uh, it fit really well with the idea of a necromancer. So I ended up looking into that and actually ran into there's a professor of religious studies, Andrew Chestnut, in University of Virginia, and he wrote a book called Holy Death. And he's made a career of studying Santa Muerte and so on. And the more I dug into it, and this is one of the things that attracted me to it because I suspected and just got confirmation. everybody's got this like, oh, Saint Death, like, oh my God, it's Satan, it's evil, it's bad. It's like,
Hmm.
no, actually, that's not it at all. There are aspects of her that are very, very focused on health and love and wealth and luck and so on, all these different things. And so I kind of leaned into that um, for starting in Dead Things, where okay, yeah, I'm making her the protagonist. I'm sorry, the antagonist. But as things shifted, I wanted to get away from the oh, this is a villain. It's like, well, yeah,
Hmm.
she kind of is in the character, but in terms of the religion. And so I was trying to be as respectful as possible while maintaining a fictional antagonist. Um, but so there was a lot of research that I had done on Santa Muerte uh and just the Aztec um uh death myths and so on, which actually figures in the later books more.
Hmm.
Um, so there, yeah, there was quite a bit of research on that, and also just uh like Santa Marta in Los Angeles. There's I don't recall which book it is, um, but there's a scene. It might actually be in. I think actually might. It is in the first book. I think. Um, Eric goes to a church in Santa Muerte that's in a strip mall next to a nail salon and a laundromat,
Yep.
and that exists. It's on like Eighth or Normandy or something like that. It's around Eighth and Normandy, and there are a few others like that. So it was that kind of I try as much as possible to use real places and real things. And some things, you know, I've made up, but based on real places and real things. Um, so for all that, now when I say I did research, um, understand that it's scratching the surface. You know, I did not. I mean, I read Andrew's book. I did, you know, a lot of my own stuff, but there is just so much and so much available and so much that I don't know and so much that I know I got wrong, not just in terms of, you know, like the Aztec mythology, but places in LA where it's like, oh, I thought that was in such and such in this place. Like, oh no, shit, I got that wrong because yeah, because that hill's not there. Or that no, that got torn down at that point. So you know, I mean, there are some things like that.
Well, let me say, not at least you read the book, you looked into and studied what you could. Nowadays, if someone says, "Oh, I did some research," most of the time it's, "Oh, I watched a TikTok and
Oh Jesus.
I heard this social media person say this one thing. I saw this post on Facebook." So I will still applaud you on doing what you did because it came across I very well. I was gripped at those parts of the book. I loved her character. I loved it so much. What I did want to ask you about too was Cristiano and I actually ended up doing the audiobook because I know we had just finished. We were currently doing a book club, and we wanted to get to Dead Things, so we did the audiobook as well. Um, when it came to the audiobook, how much did you have a hand in decision making as far as that goes?
Absolutely none.
Zero. Okay, because
Yeah.
we only found out
Well,
afterwards that there was
well,
the
There's, I don't know if you can hear my dog whining. Can you?
Oh yeah.
Apologies. Yeah,
No.
she's
You're good.
like
You're
not happy with me right now. But
good.
there's actually two different audio versions. There's
Yes, that's what I was
the
gonna say.
right, there's the ones read by Rudy Sanda.
Hmm.
And there are the full cast recordings through graphic audio. And I had no say in those whatsoever, cast
In
or
either.
anything saying,
Gotcha.
which I was fine with. One thing that I thought was funny, um, so they did graphic audio did full cast recording. Originally, they did City of the Lost. Then they did Dead Things, and the guy that did the voice for both protagonists, Eric Carter in Dead Things and Joe Sunday in City of the Lost, um, same guy, which kind of threw me at first because it
Yeah.
does not sound like Eric Carter sounds in my head.
Hmm.
Um, but what was funny, and I knew this was going to happen as I was writing it, and part of me like laughed like he's gonna. I want to see how he pulls this one off. Um, there's a later book where Joe Sunday shows up, and I knew when I was writing, it's like, fucker, I got you.
That's what you
And I
get
and I love the
for
guy. I mean,
double dipping.
he's
Yeah.
fantastic, but I just like I want to see how you pull this one off. And he did. I mean, he changed the voice a little, enough
Hmm.
for Joe Sunday, which was fine because, that would have been several books previous. But I had no input to those. And a couple of things that came out of that for me was one, there was a scene in one of the books that they didn't record for graphic audio.
Hmm.
And it was a short scene. It was not a big deal, but it caught me when it's like, wait a minute, there's a bit missing here. And I went back and I listened to it again, and then I read what I'd written and went, oh yeah, that was a good choice. It was good that they cut it. And it
Okay.
wasn't that it was a bad scene. It was just that it definitely slowed things down. And I didn't realize it as I was writing it or when I was reading it or when it was being edited that, it had such that it slowed things down so much. And them cutting it was like, oh yeah, that was exactly the right choice. I wonder if they've done that elsewhere. You know what? I'm gonna trust them.
Yeah.
Um,
It's yours.
it's like, hey, you got the rights, you got the thing, you knocked yourselves out. You're the professionals. Um, but the other thing was very few of the characters actually sounded like they did in my head. And at first it was really jarring to me, but then then I got like, okay, wait a minute. This isn't mine. This is their interpretation of it. And then it turned into a kind of getting excited to hear what are they going to do with it? How are they going to approach that? It's like, oh well, that wasn't how I wrote it in my head, but I can see
Hmm.
why they made that choice. Oh, okay, that's really interesting. Um, and it was so for me, it was really kind of exciting to hear those, because everybody's got a different interpretation of what someone's going to sound like, how something's going to read, and see and hearing that and hearing their interpretation was really cool.
I I made the comment to Cristiano um, on Rudy's because we didn't do the
Mm,
we did Rudy's version, but even his choice to of how Alex sounds
yeah.
is it's kind of like a nasally. Where I was like, oh, that, I under from my understanding of the character from Dead Things, there wasn't anything specific that I would have I would have attached that to, and I'm not saying that's a bad choice or poor choice or anything. That was just a very specific choice, and
Mhm.
so that's why I was wondering like how much of it you had to do with it, which was nothing at all.
Yep.
Um,
Not a bit.
yeah. Cristiano, what were you gonna say?
No, you kind of touched on it just now with like because Alex was one of the first ones that popped up when you said that like it wasn't the voice that you wanted. Because for I'm not gonna say for everyone, but for me for sure, when I'm like reading a book or something, I have if there's a movie going, like there's a so I'm imagining everything, and it took some time for Alex's voice to match up to like what I envisioned him as because he's one of my favorite characters in the book.
Yeah, mine too.
And I guess like his relationship, right? I think that's what I really liked about it. And so, what really made his voice kind of fit was his Alex's relationship with Eric. Without that, I don't know if I'd have been able to reckon that, but it worked out. It worked out.
Yeah, Rudy did a fantastic job. I'm really, I mean, just both versions, graphic audio and the stuff that he did is just been fantastic.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, I hope it's not so much of a spoiler, but I don't think it is.
I think we're in the clear to jump into the spoiler if you
Okay,
did
okay,
want to
no
start it.
problem. It's not
Audience now
if
knows.
it is a spoiler, it's spoiler light. But like, how do I put this? Like, I, I don't want to go too heavy into the spoilers.
Did we
Specifically for
lose
dead
you?
things.
No, no, no. I'm trying to. I want to put it in a way that's not like just such like a super heavy spoiler. So I'm trying to put it in like a light version. But basically, my
Everybody
question revolves
dies.
around
Yeah.
my question really revolves around the story between Eric and his sister Lucy. Um,
Yeah.
Hmm.
like I'm really big on like motivations for main characters. Why do they, if they're trying to get stronger? Why are they trying to get stronger? Trying to solve this case?
Hmm.
Why? Like I'm big on motivations and stuff. And so for like homecoming, kind of any kind of like writing, any kind of book that deals with homecoming, you're either dealing with some kind of thing where it's like a refuge, like, oh, I haven't been home in 20 years. I'm happy I'm back home. I need to go back home and heal. Whereas in Dead Things, it's more of like a reckoning, right?
Mhm.
What
Hmm.
interested you about writing Homecoming as that functioning in that way versus like it being like this refuge for him to come back because he's like bouncing around on the run, working, doing all these things, and then he comes home literally because his sister, right, trying to solve that.
Hmm. Um, I didn't want him to have any refuge. Um, one of the things with when I came up with Eric, um, it's funny. I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is just John Constantine and as Keanu Reeves version from the movie." From it's like no, actually, because
Yeah, I would say it's
I didn't
different.
I totally see it, but that's not where I was coming from with it. And funny because I actually, for the most part, don't like Constantine. But I totally see why people kind of go with that. But where he came from in my head was Guy Pearce's character Leon from Memento
Yes.
and Reservoir Dogs
Hmm.
of of he's a guy who lives out of a messenger bag in motels. He has no connections to anything. He bounces around from place to place. He never puts down roots. And he has a bit of a uniform that makes him stand out and at the same time be nondescript. Okay. Oh, it's a guy in a black suit, you know. His tattoos really aren't visible very often. He's got a lot of tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
Um he operates in a world that is beneath the notice of everyone, and uh even in that world he's an outlier. Being a necromancer, he's not well liked because everybody gets kind of freaked out about death. And so for him, he doesn't know how to have a refuge. So coming back to LA is he can't even go, oh, well, this is interesting. They did this or this is it's more like, wow, they changed everything. God damn it. Um, you know, um, and and it's been 15 years since he's been gone, but a lot of the things that he knew have changed in that time. Some of them have, some of them haven't. Pink's is still there. King Taco is still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, um, uh, stuff along those lines. Um, so I kind of wanted to get this idea of it wasn't a homecoming in terms of, oh wow, great, I get to come back to my old stomping grounds. It's more, god damn it, I have to go back to my old stomping grounds. He just sort of got used to this idea of, I'm not going back, I don't want to go back, it's dangerous for me to go back, not to me
Mm-hmm.
but to everybody else. um well, shit, now I'm back. And it goes about as well as he expects. He worse actually, but he wasn't expecting things to be all, rainbows and unicorns and and stuff, because that's just not his world, his outlook, or anything like that.
Right. I mean, it's definitely a spoiler, but his ex girl is with his best friend. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has some trouble with that,
Yeah.
and she has
Definitely.
some
Yeah.
trouble with him being back.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And honestly, his best friend is the only person out of all of the characters who isn't to some level a bit of a dick. I mean, he's like, this is a good person.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. No spoilers.
I think I think my second to that one would be no, well, not that he's not a dick or that he doesn't have his flaws, but I really like Darius. I like the bartender. Was I thought he was a great character, or the club owner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think like
Darius.
a lot of
Darius.
the growth that you would expect out of the main character, Eric, the people around him got to experience, which made them very likable.
I I tried to not fall into this trap of so there's I've run into it. I know other authors have run into it of, wow, this character is just such a dick. You know what? If I just make him funny, everybody will like him. And that doesn't work. It might last you for a little bit, but it falls apart really fast. So what I tried to do with Eric was, he's trying to do the right thing. He's just really, really bad at it. And he doesn't he doesn't really pay attention to what other people care about or need. and sometimes it's for their own good. Most of the times it isn't. Um, so I hoped that I could make him a likable character by not by him. Well, first off, he's not a likable character. Okay, he's not a good person.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, what I wanted to do and what I wanted to make sure I was doing as much as possible is make him a compelling character. Someone that
Yes.
you want to see what's going to happen, what is he going to do, how is he going to do it? Someone who you can get invested in and at the same time go, yeah, this is not a person I would want to like be in the same zip code with.
Hmm. Well, you mentioned that earlier about us being able to at the end of it be like, oh man, his I
I'm really
maybe
glad
not
I'm
your
not him.
yeah, exactly, and to a point where it's like I'm holding up a mirror at this point. What parts of me are like that? How can I fix this? At what point? This obviously isn't a self help book, but I right away, what I will say, where I do think you did nail that, you did hit that goal, was because there have been books that I've read, and I've told Cristiano, I've told my wife, I've told friends, where I'm like, I, I fucking hate the protagonist. Like, I don't. It's not even like. It's just I don't. I'd rather a car come hit them. I'd rather the book end here because it was just pushed too far, or maybe I just know a person too similar. But with Eric, the flaws are there. He's far from perfect, um, and I don't think that there's in the best way like a cliched redeeming quality where you're like, but I'm in his corner. It's like it's not there, but like you said, him being as compelling as it is because of the way you wrote the story, I do want to know what's going on with him, and I'm not like fighting tooth and nail to finish the book either. It's not a hate read. It's something I'm enjoying as I'm going because you know he is a real he's real at the end of the day. He's not there's no oh he's messy, but we like him like you said because he's funny, it's okay, he gets a pass. That's not always the case. We'll call a dick at the end of the day is a dick, and like we'll call it as such. So that's why as you were explaining what your goal was, I was like, I think you nailed that.
Well, thank you.
And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of piggyback, for people who have not gotten to the series but they're looking for something new to read, I'm a part of that Reddit, by the way. Huge Reddit, and it's like thousands of people in there. They're always wondering what should I read next, and these are kind of books I like to recommend because they're very easy to get into. So if you like noir, you like urban fantasy, supernatural, something that's funny though, like it actually is very funny. It
Yes.
has great characters, and there's a lot of books. Some people don't like reading series because they have to wait on the next one and the next one. This one, you can just run through them. So, really, for the people who are listening who are looking for a next read, this is definitely a great candidate. That's one of the things I would like to say about the book for sure.
Well,
Yes, yes,
thank you.
yes. And then Stephen, as we wrap up, is there anything coming down the pipeline that you'd like to plug? You'd like to let our listeners know?
Not yet. I'm working on some stuff, but we'll see if I ever find a home for it. So,
Would
but
would we would we be in the same? Is this what you're saying? That's not in Los Angeles?
it's not in Los Angeles. Bits of it are bounces around a lot. It's not Eric Carter.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
That's
that
all.
that
That's all. Yeah.
that sadly is that ship has sailed off into the distance.
Hmm.
But this will be something else, and hopefully I will have some news to share one of these days.
All right. Well, when you do, please come back to us. And once we get through the completion of the series, we can have you back on and have all the spoilers for the listeners. But yeah, thank you again for
thank
joining
you.
us tonight. It has been a treat, I know, for us and listeners. As Cristiano said, you guys gotta check out this series. It is a page turner. Thank you again, Stephen. Guys, listeners, everyone. It's been another week here at the Margins Podcast, and until next time, have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.